Hello and welcome to your favorite Iron Port, the #1 platform for all things maritime in Ghana. It is made possible by the Ghana Revenue Authority, GOIL, PLC, Serene Insurance, Ghana Link, Meridian Port Services, and Phoenix Insurance. Iron Port is powered by Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. Our media partner is the Business and Financial Times. Viewers, this week we explored the current state and prospects of trade facilitation and cross-border trade in Ghana and West Africa, with particular focus on women-owned small-scale and medium-scale enterprises. We had this very important discussion with Dodi Seido, who is the Chief Executive of the Africa Trade Academy, and Nad Densua Ayete, who is the Chair of the Trade and Gender Subcommittee of the National Trade Facilitation Committee. Here's an excerpt of that discussion. Take a listen.
That is what I want us to understand: the infrastructural, logistical, and regulatory hurdles in trade across West African borders. What really are the challenges we face right now?
Cross-border trade, as we have it here in Ghana and in the West African coast, can be divided into two: formal and informal. And I'm sure we'll come to that later. So we have those who have registered their business and they are following regulations, following procedures, and they are compliant. We have those in the informal who cross the border daily to go and sell and come back. We call they are the informal people. They are not registered.
Okay.
They do not follow any format. They are neither people who pay attention to regulations, or are they even aware of such regulations. But these two face some challenges. Okay. And you mentioned some infrastructure. When you go to the border or the borders of Ghana, let's take Aflao to Togo, Elubo for Côte d'Ivoire, and Paga to Burkina Faso, and other entry points using the land borders. They face infrastructure challenges because, first of all, they do not have what it takes. When you go to the borders, we are talking of, for example, restrooms that, as women, they can use. We are talking about well-coordinated warehouses that they can use. We are talking about safety and security. How are the borders lit up? I mean, do they have lights all over the place? Is it a safe and conducive place when you go, or you are coming, or you are traveling, and it's late and you have to stop? Is it safe? Access to markets, alternative ones. Sometimes they tend to use other routes that we say they are not legitimate or something. But is that place safe? How safe is it for a woman carrying money on her, traveling and reaching the border? We talk about not only their safety, but they are not sometimes even aware of the procedures at the border. So there are so many things that mute against them, or that move against cross-border traders when you are talking about procedures at the border. And sometimes, but I'm happy to say that there's an improvement, and we are hoping for better things and better times, because it used to be very difficult for them to just cross the border by even doing documents, filling in their documentation. That was a problem, that was a challenge. But we believe that with education and talking to both sides, border agencies and then the cross-border traders, they will begin to understand each other in the business. But these are some of the infrastructural challenges that they do face at the border.
Dodi Seido, definitely we know that there's been some measures throughout the period, even though there's more to be done. How are these measures, facilitating or actually transforming cross-border trade?
Well, thank you very much, and good evening to your viewers. So like you said, there's been a lot of initiatives, some dating back as long as, for example, regional trade and continental trade in ECOWAS has been in existence. So, for example, in recent times, we've seen some level of infrastructure development, the building of joint border posts, for example, between Ghana and Togo, the Noipe-Akanu border, for example, which is supposed to reduce the level of transaction cost otherwise traders would have faced, through infrastructural development. There's been improvements in development of markets, and not just markets at the border, but markets in country, because the way cross-border trade is not just what happens at the border, like Madam said, but there are aspects of trade that happens in country. So we have markets in Ghana where they do B2B, like the brick bulk. So if it's plantains, if it's fish, salt, whatever, people come from other countries to buy them and cross the border, or people come from other regions in Ghana, buy them to cross the border. So some of those market infrastructure, like if you take Kejitia, Tichma market, for example, these are markets that deal in such kind of goods. And so the redevelopment of these markets can enhance or has enhanced trade facilitation. However, we need to see both activity at the border as well as in country. So the issue of warehousing, for example, and to note that a lot of the products sold are food-based products or food products. The lack of warehousing or appropriate means of storage plus delays in crossing the border affects the quality of the product. So then if it's a perishable and within a day or two it's not sold, it's not quality to sell again, and neither can you even dispose it as a trader. So those are some of the things. But the measures we've seen so far, apart from the logistical ones or the infrastructure I've mentioned, has been in the area of the trade rules. And though the trade rules have tended to provide and suggest, reducing the level of red tape, the level of processing, inspections, and things like that, because the products, some of them, used to cross the border, they are supposed to be low-value products, which is, having a threshold of about, let's say, between $500 to $2,000 of products that is not supposed to take too much time to either inspect or clear. Okay. However, it takes a lot of time for them to go through the process. Some alluding to the fact that some of the traders don't know the process, or on the other side, the officers, in terms of the border officials, may want to, in the name of doing a thorough work, end up, delaying and crossing the border. So, though we've seen improvements in the regulations and at the border, we haven't seen their actual implementation that puts in focus the role and importance of this group of people. So SMEs, small-scale cross-border traders, women in cross-border trade are very critical to our own survival. Don't forget, these are the women who are going as far as Burkina Faso to bring us tomatoes, to bring us onions. If they are not able to go and get those products to bring to us in time and at a reasonable cost, all of us, including you and I in this studio,
definitely
get to pay. And therefore, we need to begin to conscientize the minds of anybody responsible, including police officials who are on highways conducting snap checks, conducting security checks, to have this in mind, that these are the group of people, based on reasonable suspicion and reasonable, assessment, you should let them go, because they need to get back home to their families and need to get the products to all of us to consume.
In terms of simplifying and harmonizing these trade procedures, what would you say is the role of government?
Well, in terms of government is the principal negotiator. Government is the principal representative of all of us at the international negotiation table. So governments need to, with what has been done already with Madam Nadine Swa having become the chair of the National Subcommittee on Gender at the NTFC, to advocate or provide to the government the necessary information the government needs to understand the need for simplification of process. Because if we as traders or as individuals, stakeholders, we don't have a voice at the negotiation table. So we need to, bring these issues to the Ministry of Trade, to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and any other agency, Immigration, Interior, to be able to, put this forward at the negotiations, whether at the ECOWAS level or at the continental level with the AFCFTA.
Now, we've discussed the challenges, but are there opportunities as well in West Africa, and especially positioning Ghana as a hub?
I think there are quite a number of opportunities for our women. For example, with the African Continental Free Trade that is in, there are so many opportunities for our women traders, or for SMEs in general, not just the women, but for men and women as well. It brings in a lot. When you look at the African Continental Free Trade, it's come out specifically on women and has provided right now a protocol for both women and the youth, which allows them, in fact, if you get the protocol, it spells out certain things that they can be involved in, like new markets they can access, facilities that they can access, financial facilities. Also, it gives them a level of protection. But opening markets for them within the region, even if you take the ECOWAS sub-region, you realize that if they can trade smoothly, procedures have been simplified and harmonized, they can trade very easily with their other counterparts across the border. I recall a meeting that we held at the border not too long ago, just this November, and we met with the cross-border traders, the women in particular. And we're talking about some of the things that they can do, because as you know, trade facilitation has brought a lot of opportunities, but it is not gender sensitive, it's very neutral. However, there's a need for us to know what it provides that can benefit the women in particular. And the Continental Free Trade Area, the agreement, and the WTO agreement, these two give a wide range of opportunities for women in particular to address some of their needs. So as I said, there are opportunities for them well spelled out. The market has been expanded. They can now move very easily. The threshold has been built today. We know that we have a simplified trade regime where, if you have just about $3,000 worth of goods, you pass through easily. But how do they know this? They've provided an area where they can be trained, create awareness. And for us at the NTFC level, the Trade and Gender Committee brings on board the opportunity to have training for them, to expose them to some of the things that the protocol on youth and women and youth brings for them. What are the advantages for them? How can they access some of the things mentioned in the protocol that can benefit their businesses? There are so many things. And fortunately, e-payment, we know about the PAPs, the Pan-African payment, so now they don't have to carry money on them. They can easily access money from the banks, So there are a wide range of things that with the African Continental Free Trade and also the Trade Facilitation Agreement. For example, before coming out with any rule or anything within the border agencies, like customs coming out with regulations, fees and charges, they're supposed to inform the traders, consult with them, and tell them, we want to bring this particular rules, and then if those rules will affect their trading transactions, the women are able to comment, or traders in general must be able to comment and say that this will not be good for us. It will affect our business. Can you delay it, or can it be implemented in another way? The consultation, the interactions. It behoves on the agency that is bringing out these rules and regulations to interact, to consult the traders and discuss with them what they are bringing, and then take on board the traders' comments. The protocol on youth, I think, the protocol for women that the African Continental Free Trade is very wide. It makes them competitive. And one of the strong points is to make them to be able to export, and add value to it, and then also be part of the regional value chains. And if things are good, the global value chains, they can be a part of it. So I think that with the African Continental Free Trade, with the Trade Facilitation Agreement, WTO Trade Facilitation Agreement, women have quite a number of opportunities that they can utilize.
So viewers, that was bits on our conversation with Nadensua Ayete and Dode Seidu on trade facilitation, cross-border trade, and women-owned enterprises in Ghana and West Africa. Check our YouTube for the long conversation. Now, let's hear a few comments you shared with us on the subject. After, we will go on break and then return with more news. Stay tuned.
Petra from Accra says, I am loving this discussion, Iron Pot. It's interesting to think about how societal norms impact women in trade. Are there examples of initiatives that have successfully addressed these barriers?
The sole aim of assisting cross-border traders, cross-border women traders. And its main objective is to promote and mainstream gender into all policies, trade policies, to ensure that trade policies do not come out as gender neutral, but they are gender sensitive. So policies from any of the organizations in trade.
Okay.
Now, it encourages continued dialogue and gender accountability, and it works in such a way that, for example, if you're an organization, you are coming out with a policy, a trade policy, you should consider gender, women, how your policy will affect women and how it can empower women. What the Trade and Gender Committee has as terms of reference, one of them is to find gender champions within the ecosystem, the trade ecosystem. Identify non-tariff barriers that impede the work of the women. Also, find out the percentage of women who are involved in cross-border trade, and also the percentage of them that are formalized. So with this kind of information or data, you can work very well with women and find out exactly what is the gap and how we can find solutions.
Good energy brings you quality choices with Goil Super XP. Available in many Goil stations nationwide. It is fortified with special additives that help your engine perform better and use less fuel. Branch into a Goil station today and energize your ride with Goil Super XP, compatible with most vehicles. Goil Super XP, Wufilia, huh? Wubefi. Goil, good energy. Yeah, yeah.
Electricity, then pay your taxes. Yeah. Our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is. You still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
MPS Terminal 3 is Africa's new state-of-the-art container terminal at Tema Port. For manufacturers, agro-processors and traders, the new port means business can be done faster. This infrastructure boost will improve Ghana's port handling capacity, connect more trading routes, and oil the engine of growth for the economy, creating greater opportunities across all sectors as Africa's markets merge and become the largest trading bloc globally. MPS, we connect, you thrive.
Business and life can be like the sea sometimes. Sometimes serene, sometimes calm, sometimes turbulent, and at times it brings the unexpected. However it is like, trust Phoenix Insurance for your home, car, business, and marine insurance needs. Call 0302-246-319 or 0243-690-492.
At Phoenix, you experience a delightful service delivered with wisdom.
Welcome back, viewers. Now it's time for our local news segment.
A befitting send-off ceremony was held on Wednesday, January 8, to honor the outgoing Tema Port Fire and Safety Manager, Deputy Chief Fire Officer, DCFO Reverend Alfred Okine, who until his retirement served the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority for a remarkable 39 years. The colorful parade was attended by staff and management of the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, members of the Ghana National Fire Service, and key stakeholders within the port community who gathered to celebrate his exemplary career. DCFO Reverend Alfred Okine began his career in 1985 as an office assistant in the Port Operations Department before transitioning to the Port Fire Service in 1989 as a recruit fireman. His commitment earned him the Best Worker Award in 1992, and he rose through the ranks after the merger of the Fire Service and Safety sections in 1996 to become a principal fire and safety officer, briefly serving as a traffic officer at the Golden Jubilee Terminal in 2013. He returned that same year as deputy fire and safety manager, and in 2024 he assumed the role of fire and safety manager, culminating in a legacy as the department's longest serving member. He took over from Edward Heyman in July last year. The director of Port Tema, Sandro Puku, urged all workers at the Fire and Safety section to emulate the example set by the outgoing boss.
And we want to encourage all the new officers or the new recruits in the Fire and Safety Department as you read his history, let it inspire you to do better, because he came in as an office assistant and now he's leaving as the fire and safety manager. Everything is possible. So my advice to you, work hard. The success will come when your hard work is acknowledged. And the promotion will also come when your hard work is acknowledged. So on this note, I'll say, Reverend Okine, thank you once again. You are leaving a big hole, but I know that our dear lady Cynthia is well equipped to stand in your shoes and to move this department forward.
She added, occupational health and safety will continue to be a major focus of management at the Port of Tema in the new year. Reflecting on his career, Reverend Okine expressed gratitude for the support he received from GPHA and his colleagues throughout his journey.
We have shared so many experiences and difficulties as we journeyed through this career, and I will really miss working with each and every one of you. I wish to admit that I am standing here today because of your influential support you offered me throughout these years.
He made a passionate appeal to management to scale up the workforce of the department in order for them to take up emerging responsibilities.
Let me take this opportunity once again to make special appeal to management to consider the recommendations I made for the upgrade of some of the staff who have degrees and masters in occupational health, safety and environment, as well as those with professional certificates in line with the service institutions of engineers. This, I believe, will boost their confidence and challenge them to work more harder.
ACFO Cynthia Ajaklo has now assumed the office of Fire and Safety Manager at the Port of Tema.
Let us now turn our lenses to the global stage and pick a few international shipping and maritime related news. China's state-owned COSCO Shipping Holdings, along with 130 other Chinese companies, has been added to the U.S. Department of Defense blacklist for alleged ties to China's military, aiming to curb military modernization efforts. This move, which follows similar past sanctions, has led to stock drops for listed companies, including a 4.92% dip for COSCO, while COSCO denies the allegations and vows to continue operations uninterrupted. Amid this, President-elect Trump's return raises fears of heightened tariffs and trade tensions, potentially driving up shipping costs and reducing U.S. consumer spending by billions annually. Recent developments indicate increased risk to Russian military cargoes at sea, highlighted by the December 23 sinking of the Ursa Major near the Straits of Gibraltar. With its war effort reliant on foreign arms shipments, Russia sources artillery and drones from North Korea and Iran via sea routes, vital for sustaining frontline operations. Ukraine, seeking to disrupt these supplies, has demonstrated capability in maritime strikes, such as the November 6 drone attacks in the Caspian Sea, potentially escalating risk to Russian military logistics at sea. For our word of the day, we'll tell you what we mean by port tariffs. Port tariffs are charges applied for the use of port facilities and services. According to the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, UNCTAD, these charges can be categorized as follows. 1. Port dues refer to charges applied either on the ship or on the cargo or both for the general use of the port without any specific service being specified. 2. Specific port tariffs are charges applied for the performance of a specific port service. Collectively, these charges are often referred to as port charges, encompassing both port dues and specific port tariffs. Today's health and safety tip focuses on keeping a correct posture.
Keeping a correct posture. Maintaining your body in a neutral posture is important to minimize the stress placed on your body, even if you work at a desk. You need to make sure you have a good posture to avoid back problems, neck pain, and even carpal tunnel. Of course, if you do have to lift something, always size up the load. Keep your back straight and lift with your legs.
Let us now take a look at the schedule of vessels that have berthed in the ports of Tema and Takoradi and at the anchorages of both ports, as well as those expected in the coming weeks, plus the Bank of Ghana exchange rates, which you may need to know to clear your cargo with. This is where we end today's edition of Iron Port. We hope you've been informed and educated. Remember, all Iron Port content can be found on our YouTube channel. Please subscribe, like, and share our videos. Thank you for watching.